Welcome to No Peeking, where I try to solve puzzles blindfolded. Today I'm going to be attempting the gear cube. The gear cube is similar to a 3x3 in that it has centers, edges, and corners. The big difference is that the gears make it so that if you turn one side, the other side also turns, which greatly restricts the ways you can manipulate the cube. It has far less possible scrambles than the 3x3, even less than the 2x2. Because of this, the best way to solve it blindfolded is going to be through tracking. We will start by tracking the corners. Because every move is mirrored by a move on the opposite side, we are basically just doing double moves to the corners. So if we only look at the corners and treat them like a 2x2, we're just doing double moves on a 2x2. And if you scramble a 2x2 using just double moves, you can never be more than 4 moves away from being solved. So, the maximum amount of moves that we will have to track is 4, which is reasonable. So in this case, I see that I can pair this piece up with this one by doing an L2, and then this will be here, so I can pair it up here by doing a D2, and then this will not have moved, so I can solve it by doing a B2. So the moves to solve these corners will be L2, D2, B2. The next step is centers. When you solve corners on a gear cube, the centers will either also be solved, or they will be one double slice move away from being solved. Luckily, we can usually force the centers to be solved, and that's because the moves that we need to do to solve the corners can either be done normally, like an R2, or backwards, like an R2 prime. And that treats the centers differently. So while we track those moves, we can decide which way to go to solve the centers. In this case, we see this yellow-red bar already set up, so we can pair the other red bar by doing a D2, and then solve the orange face by doing an L2. So we need to track D2, L2. Blue is on the top, and we want white to be below it. So we will have to do a D2 prime to get white in this spot. And then to get blue on the front face, we'll need to do an L2. So D2 prime, L2, and now the corners and centers are solved. Lastly, we need to solve the edges. Because of the way that the gear cube moves, the edges in each slice will always remain in the same slice as each other. So these will always be in the same slice, these will always be in the same slice, and these will always be in the same slice. So we have 3 different slices to worry about. And the edges in each slice can be in one of 3 positions. They can be solved, they can be swapped across one face, or they can be swapped across both faces. So, after we track corners and centers, we can track one piece from each slice to know what position that slice will be in. So these corners are solved by D2, B2, D2. And then in order to solve the centers, we need to do D2, B2 prime, D2 prime. So this edge will not be affected. And it's in the right position, so we know this slice will be correct. This edge will not be affected by D2, but then B2 prime will put it here, and then D2 prime will put it here. So that's opposite where it needs to go. So this slice is opposite. And then this edge will go here during D2, here during B2, and then here during D2 prime. So it will be swapped across green and blue. So if we do those moves, D2, B2 prime, D2 prime, we see these are swapped opposite, and these are swapped across this face and this face. There's only one algorithm that we need to know to solve the edges. And that swaps these two, and then does an opposite swap in this slice. And it's U, R2, U, R2. So now all of the edges are in the correct position. But they're not oriented right. Edge orientation is the last stage of the solve, and it's not something that we predict during memo. Because after we do everything else, we can feel if they're correct. So this is correct, we don't need to do anything. This goes down from left to right, so we will do R prime 4, and then this goes up from left to right. So we will do R4. And now it's solved. The method is ready, so let's do some attempts. Okay, 127.25, and it's solved. Awesome, I got success on the first attempt, and the time wasn't too bad, but I'm gonna keep trying and see how fast I can get. Weird, and then that's total, and this one. PB 1712. Alright, thanks for watching, and let me know what other puzzles you'd like to see me solve. Blindfolded.